Okay, so we are today is actually Pei Chet, and we are going to start at the bottom of Pei Zayin at the Mishnah. So yesterday we ended like the sugya with like a three-way machloket tanaim, where we were talking about how it is that a husband or potentially a father could mefer a neder from his wife or his daughter. Depending on whatever it is that was said, then there were three opinions from Rabbi Ishmael and Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Chia Bar Abba, which is actually the Chachamim, and that when it came to Hafara, it's like, so that it was originally that she had said that she was not going to eat figs and grapes. And so Rabbi Ishmael said that Hafara would apply to both the figs and the grape, even though she said one as the other. And Rabbi Akiva said that if you actually mikayem part of the neder, then you could also mefarash part of it. And the Chachamim say that actually, if you only talk about half of it, then it doesn't work whatsoever. It's either all or nothing. So that's how we ended yesterday. Today, we're going to talk about a very different situation where you have actually a husband who hears his wife make a neder, but he actually doesn't know that he can take it away from her. He doesn't know that he can annul it. Somehow he does not know what the halacha is. Okay, יודע אני שיש נדרים, אבל אני יודע שיש איני יודע שיש מפירין. So I know that there are nedarim, but I actually did not know that I could annul them. Yafer. And so at the time when he actually is being told that that's a possibility, then he's allowed to do it. So this is an interesting situation because it's like, how is it that he doesn't know that he could mefer the neder? It's possible that he didn't know that the specific neder that she took is one that is like part of like a category that he actually can annul. So that's one thing.
You never learned in Nedarim.
What?
You never learned Masechet Nedarim.
He never learned Masechet Nedarim. That is correct. He would have learned quite a bit if he did. And so it's past Yom Shama, right? So we know that technically the only time where he can revoke like the neder is on the day that he has heard it. So here, if really he didn't know, and this is and he finds out that he could have, then it becomes like his yom shama. It's the day that he's heard it, and then he could he can actually mefer the neder. So Rav Meir actually is not looking. Okay, so let's keep on reading. Yodea ani sheyesh meferin. I know that someone can actually revoke a neder. Aval eni yodea sheze neder. He didn't know that whatever it is that she said actually was actually a neder. So it's a little bit weird, but whatever. He didn't he didn't think about it. Lo yafer. In this case, if he knew that it was a neder, but he didn't think he could actually he could mefer it, then Rabbi Meir says he's not allowed to. The Chachamim omrim yafer, and the Chachamim said that he can. So what's the difference in between the two? The Rav Meir says that, well, he didn't think that he could, but did he actually think about asking a Chacham for sheila, so that he could get clarification on whether he could or he couldn't? So he didn't do that. So the fact that he didn't do that, it shows that, he was okay with whatever it is that she said. So it is so he's not, so as far as Ravi Meir is concerned, Rav Meir is concerned, he's not allowed to actually revoke it. Now the Chachamim are looking at it in a different way. He said that really what happened was he kind of had partial knowledge, And so, it's like he didn't really understand how it was that it was working. So they would allow it at the time when he really gets like full understanding of whatever it is that he's supposed to be actually doing, then he's allowed to mefer the neder. Okay. And this is like actually the center of what it is that we're going to be discussing today. We're going to be talking about the difference in between having partial understanding and having full understanding when it comes, or knowledge, when it comes to like, Nedarim. So, so the way that I'm going to reclarify, the way that Rabbi Meir is like thinking is that as far as like he's concerned, where you have partial knowledge, it's not the same as having full knowledge of the entire situation. And as far as the Chachamim are concerned, whether you have partial or you have full, it's the same. It is to be treated in the same way. Okay, so the Gemara is not like, clear about that. So they're going to actually like look at what's happening, and they're going to quote like a baraita. Urminehu. So what they see is that they bring a baraita, which has to do with a man who is going to be killing another man beshogeg. Okay, it's like he didn't do it on purpose. It was an accident. Okay, belo reot. So there's a pasuk that says in Bamidbar, או בכל אבן אשר ימות בה בלא ריאות, ויפל עליו וימות, והוא לא אויב לו, ולא מבקש רעתו. So it's like, it's someone who did not see. And but did not see is not something like that actually means like that he was blind. It just means that he was not actually paying attention. Hi, Moshe. We are on Pei Zayin at the Gemara. Okay, so we discussed like today the Mishnah starts with like a man who heard his wife make a neder, but he doesn't understand really that it's a neder, and so he's not really sure. He doesn't know that he can mefer it. So the question is like, because his Yom Shemo has passed, does he have the opportunity to actually get rid of the neder at a different time later on, when he understands that it was a neder and he has the right to do it? And so Rabbi Meir says that he cannot, and the Chachamim say that he can. And we're bringing now a baraita that is actually showing that the Chachamim and Rabbi Meir have a different way of looking at things in different circumstances. So so without seeing. So this man killed like another guy, and he wasn't like, it wasn't paying attention. He was on his cell phone. He was involved, like he was looking at the moon, who knows. Perat lesuma. So this pasuk seems to be implying that a blind person is not included in this situation, because we say belo reot, it's someone who's like, it's not someone who has not seen anything. It's someone who did not have complete like, knowledge of what was happening. And so the blind person would not have to actually go into the Hare Miklat. He would not have to go into exile. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. This is how Rabbi Yehuda, who is like represents the Chachamim, is actually looking at it. Rabbi Meir Omer lerabot et asuma. As far as he's concerned, actually, this is including the person who is blind. So how is it that this is happening? Why are they looking at it in this way? So the way that Rabbi Yehuda is looking at the blind person, right? It's someone who is aware of the presence of the other person, but only because he has other senses. So maybe he smells the person, or he just has like, a sense that there is someone. He hears that like there's someone moving next to him, but he doesn't really know where exactly the person is. And whatever it is that he's going to do, like if he were to kill him, it definitely would not be because he had like meant to. It's because he did something, like he just didn't know where the person was, and so this happened by accident. So as far as he's concerned, he's in terms of Rabbi Yehuda, he says, well, he didn't know everything that he needed to know. So how can you say that he should go into exile? He's not. We're going to say he doesn't need to. It's not his fault that he didn't have all the elements that were required in order for him to make the correct decision. As far as Rabbi Meir is concerned, he said, you know what? He had enough that he knew that it's his fault. That's too bad. And so he's going to need to go into exile. So this is actually in direct contradiction with the Mishnah that we actually read, where it was the opposite. The opposite said, what this said is like Rabbi Meir said, that he could not like get rid of the neder because he didn't have enough information. And here it's like he's saying, like, in this baraita about about like belo reot, that as far as he's concerned, yes, he does. So that's something that that we need to look further into. Okay, Amar Rava, Acha minyane dekra. So here, when we're talking about like this killing that took place by accident, right? So we're looking at it in the context of a specific pasuk. Ve'acha minyana dekra, and in terms of the Nedarim, excuse me, we look at it in the context in the different pasuk altogether. So we're not applying one situation into the other. We're actually applying each situation by itself. Hi, Hanan, we're at the top of Pechet. We just started like the Gemara. We're talking about like the man who has killed someone inadvertently. Okay, fine. You're following. Okay, so we have the two psukim that are different. So here, Rava is going to show us how it is that they really, Rav Yehuda and the Chachamim and Rabbi Meir are looking at it, rather, and why it is that it makes a difference. Okay, Rabbi Yehuda Savar, Gabe Rotzeach Ketiv. So when we're talking about like the guy who kills like someone inadvertently, excuse me, what is it written? Ve'asher yavo et re'eto beya'ar. So this is like the story actually in Devarim of the guy who actually is going into the forest, and he has like he's following someone who's actually on his way to inside the forest as well. And this guy who's entering the forest has an axe. He intends to actually cut a tree. And the axe is like either it's like it actually part of it like just leaves by itself, or he makes like whatever movement like that is unfortunate, and it kills the guy who is in front of him. Okay, so this is not something that he intended to do, but this is what happened, right? Okay, kol davar me'al liyar. So when we're talking about like the person who's actually entering the forest, it applies to anyone. It can be me, it can be you, it can be a blind person. That's the way that Rabbi Yehuda is looking at it. So it's like, why is it that we actually would say that the blind person would be exempt from going into exile? I mean, he did it just like anybody else could have done it. And so he had enough knowledge to actually be treated the same way as other. If you look at the other pasuk that actually in Shemot that talks about like the blind person, right? That would be actually, you would be repeating yourself because you already talked about that. Mi'ar nafkale, because the actual chok, the actual halacha is taken from the story of the guy who goes into the forest. It's not taken from from this re'ot lerabot et asuma. So why are we repeating it? So that here, if you say that, ela shemamina belo re'ot prat lesuma. We say that if we say without seeing, then that means that we actually are going to be excluding the person who is blind. Okay, so that's the way that Rabbi Yehuda is looking at it. Let's see what Rabbi Meir is saying. Rabbi Meir, ketiv bichli da'at. So when we're talking about the one who doesn't have awareness, right? He actually killed this person. He wasn't really paying attention, and it wasn't meant to do that. Kol davar midah. He actually, anyone could have like awareness of someone who's next to them, right? I mean, that's like, I don't know. I mean, I'm walking like on the street very often with like with listening to music. I'm not really paying attention to like that there's someone next to me, behind me, in front of me. Maybe it's a mistake, but you know, you have like a certain level of like knowledge that there's someone around, but you don't really pay attention to that. Vesuma lav bar midah hu. But the blind person, he doesn't even have that. He doesn't see like, you know, that there's someone like right next to him or behind or like or next or in front of him or whatever it is. So if you look at this specific pasuk, then you would say that it's not his fault. And since it's not his fault, then he should not like have to go into exile. Ve'i amart belo re'ot prat lesuma. So if you say, if you bring like those specific words, belo re'ot, that you like, you know, without seeing, which we say actually excludes the person who is blind, then you're talking about it a second time because we already have brought it like, you know, with beli da'at. And so, ki mi beli da'at nafkale. There's like, you know, someone who doesn't have awareness, the fact that he can't see is included in that. Ela shemamina belo re'ot lerabot et asuma. So as far as he's concerned, because we already are repeating it twice, then it has to include the person who is blind. Okay. So this is how Rava is like explaining the way that they're looking at the situation. And how it is that it would, because it's a double exclusion, then it follows the same path as like what they had said in Nedarim about their position in terms of whether the husband could potentially mefer the neder at a later point when he finally understands that he can, or that he wouldn't be able to in the case that he really was aware of the fact that it was a neder. He just like wasn't really paying enough attention to it, and he didn't ask anyone if he could or he couldn't. So as far as that actually constituted acceptance of the neder as far as he was concerned.
This is the Suma is talking about the guy who's got the axe.
The Suma does not have the axe. It's like it's the guy who is not a Suma. But if we compare it, we say it could be the Suma who's actually entering the forest and having the same issue that's happening to him. But when we talk about the guy in the forest, it's you or me, for example. So we actually have awareness, and yet we have situations where, you know, there's accidents. And so
I understand. Who is the blind person here?
In the forest, it's not the Suma.
What?
In the forest, it's not the Suma.
Oh, the Suma. So what's the connection between, they're talking about the exile, city of exile?
Yes. We're talking about who is being sent to the city of exile. And we're like, in terms of the homicide, we're bringing cases where someone has full awareness versus someone has partial awareness, which is the same thing as like in the neder that the woman said the husband had partial awareness or full awareness.
I understand the connection, but I don't know why do they bring up a case of a blind person? What is the blind person doing, or what?
The blind person has partial awareness. We want to bring I actually want to make the connection to the fact that you don't understand the entire thing doesn't mean that you don't realize that there's something there.
Right. Okay. I just.
What happened was it was a machloket in between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Meir. And what happened is this baraita with the Suma in the forest shows a different, like that they're looking at it in a different way in terms of like the partial knowledge. And so Rava comes in to actually explain that they're only looking at it in a different way because they're looking in the context of the pasuk, and they're not apply. You can't apply what applies to the story of the Suma to the Nedarim, because each of one is separate. Each halacha is separate. You can't apply one halacha to another context.
All right. Fine.
Okay. All right. So
in the Torah, where it's forbidden to put a stumbling block before the blind, we interpret that to be much more broad than simply a blind person.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Let's move on. So we have a new Mishnah. Hamadir ana'a mechatano. So this is like a complicated case where you have a father who actually wants to give a gift of money to his daughter, but he does not want his son-in-law to benefit from it whatsoever. He doesn't like the son-in-law. He didn't want her to get married to him, whatever it was. He wants to give her money and he doesn't want him to touch it. So how
There
is
are
it
bigger problems in this family than in Nader.
Probably. Very probably. In any event, he needs to formulate things in such a way that actually she like is going to benefit from it completely, and then the husband is, and her husband, the son-in-law, is not going to touch it. Okay. והוא רוצה לתת לביתו מעות. Okay, he wants to give his daughter money. אומר לה, הרי המעות האלו נתונים לך במתנה. So this money I'm giving to you as a gift, okay? ובלבד שלא יהיה לבעלך רשות בהן. But if I give you this money, I want to make sure that your husband is not going to benefit from it in any way. That's already like problematic because we know that back then, whatever belongs to the wife belongs to the husband. It's like, he has like complete ownership of everything that she actually has. אלא מה שאת נושאת ונותנת בפיך. And it's like, so whatever it is that you take with this money, you can put it in your mouth. And that's basically like a way to tell her that, so what happens? What happens is, let's say that with this money, she's going to go and she's going to buy a field, right? Whatever would like fruits or like vegetables or whatever it is that would be produced on this field would belong to the husband. He would be the one who would have like benefit from this. So since the father does not want for this to happen, he said, you put it in your mouth. The fact that he said that, it means that it is her solely who's going to be able to benefit from the produce that is going to be generated by like, the field that she has bought or whatever it is, and not the husband. So this is a little bit complicated. So Amar Rav, lo shanu ela de amar la. So it's like, we didn't, it's not taught in this Mishnah that there's a way like to actually go against this, right? Except where he said, Ma she'at noset venotenet bepich. So that's what he specifically said, that you take it. So the food that you buy, like, with the money, you put it in your mouth, right? So that's like, that's the way that he actually formulated it so that this guy does not have access to it. Aval amar, ma shetirtzi asi, tana yatchon baal. If he had said, instead of what he said, if he had said, you can do whatever it is that you want with this money. You can go and take a trip to Bali, or you can go and buy yourself like, 1,600 dresses or whatever it is. Then the husband would have had full ownership of that money, and she really would not have been able to do whatever it is that she wanted with it. So, Ushmuel Omer, afilu amar, ma shetirtzi asi, lo kana yatchon bahal. So, but Shmuel says that even if he had said that if the father had said, you can take this money and do whatever it is that you want with it, as far as he's concerned, he said the husband actually cannot touch it. So we see here, so Rav Paskins like Rav Meir, he said that there's an exclusive right, but that he puts in when he said that you can use it to put the food in your mouth. And Shmuel Paskins like the Chachamim, that he says that if the money is being given to it, the owner actually does not have the reshut, and it's like that would have said, if the father had said, I'm giving it to the daughter, that should have been enough. Okay. Matkif la Rabbi Zera. So Rabbi Zera is like, he wants to know more about this. He's like challenging them. Keman azla ha shamata de Rav. So it's like, who actually did whatever it is that we have learned, like from Rav, who does it go by? Ke Rabbi Meir. It goes in accordance with Rabbi Meir. De Amar Yad Aisha ke Yad Ba'ala. So it's like, Yad Isha ke Yad Ba'ala. It means like, it means two things. First of all, it means that like, when a husband and wife are like, married, they're actually one. So what belongs to one belongs to the other. At the same time, it also means that whatever it is that a wife is doing, she should actually ask her husband to allow her to do so. So if she's going to decide that she's going to buy like something, like let's say a field, then she should have like her husband agreement in order to do so. The Amar Yad Isha ki Yad Ba'ala, ve'ir menehu. So, but we see that actually there's a difference in between the way that Rabbi Meir is like looking at things originally with the Nedarim and like in this Mishnah, ketzad mishtatzfin b'machoy. So, b'mavoy. So it's like, how is it that someone can make like, a shituf for mavoy? So we're going back to Eruvin, not my favorite, but anyway, it's like under what circumstances would a wife actually be the one who would be making the shituf for the mavoy, right? It would be like, it would mean that the courtyard in itself actually belonged to her. And maybe she inherited it from her father. And then she is responsible to actually make the shituf. And at that point of time, then it would be hers, right? Mine et aravit ave omer. So if someone actually put like, a barrel of wine, which was one of the things that they used to do a shituf mavoy, hareze lechol bene mavoy. This actually belongs to all the people like in the mavoy. Umezake lahen. And then by doing this, he's like, by saying that it belongs to all the residents, he's transferred ownership of the wine to every single person that is like lives in the mavoy. Umezake lahen al yede avdo veshifchato ha'ivrim. And how is it that he did this? He did this actually by using an agent, and he did not actually use the people that he used were his eved. So it's like, his servant, he's manservant or his maidservant, right? So it's like, a second, it's a secondary person that is being used. Ve'al de beno ubito agdolim, or with an adult son and daughter. It's specifically like, specified that agdolim, so that's important. Ve'al de ishto, or through his wife. So his wife actually would be able to be an agent for him to acquire what the eruv for the mavoy. Ve'i amart kana yahaton ba'ala. If you say that actually this woman is receiving something, right? She's receiving some kind of gift. Her husband is like technically the one who's going to be receiving like whatever fruits are coming out of that. Eruv lo nafik merushute de Baal. So then it means that at the end of the day, that everything that belonged to the husband really stayed with the husband. And it might have gone through like, the hands of some different people, but it was really his all along. Amar Rava, af al gav de Amar Rabbi Meir, yad isha ke yad ba'ala. So if he said, if Rabbi Meir says that when a woman actually has something that belongs to her, it's like also it belongs to her husband. Mode Rabbi Meir le'inyan shituf. So then we're going to say that Rabbi Meir is actually agrees in the case of like the shituf, de chevan de lezakot leacherim hu, because he was able to transfer, like he wants to transfer the ownership, right, of the barrel of wine that is going to constitute the shituf mavoy to like all the other people that are part of the courtyard. Miyad ba'ala zachya. And so because she's like the owner of the mavoy, actually what happened was in this case, which is like, a little convoluted, and we don't really know about it. She managed to get her husband to gift it to her. And this is how she was actually the owner of it. And so she ends up like being like being the one to whom like the Shituf Mavoy belongs to. Ative Ravina le Rav Ashi. So Ravina is like, he goes to Rav Ashi, they're talking about this Baraita, and they're talking about like, the Shitu, that's the one about the Shitufe Mavoy. Elu shezachin lahen. So then what we're saying is like these people, right? The people who actually live in the Chatzer, they actually can transfer the ownership of like these food, from one to the other for the purpose of doing the shituf mavoy, al yedei beno uvito agdolim, through the adult or the son that are at the son and daughter who are adults, ve'ivdo ve'shifchato ivrim, or they're like servants, whether they were like, male or female, the elu she'en zachin lahen. But like these people cannot transfer like ownership directly to the people who actually live in like in the courtyard. Al yedei beno ovito aktanim, and then we know for a fact that ve'avdo ve'shifchato akenaanim. So this specifically like says akenaanim, so that means that like those if the ovdei kochavim are not akenaanim, are not included in the people that could potentially transfer ownership. Ve'ishto, and specifically now he says or his wife. So so that means that as an agent, the young children cannot be agents. The slaves that are Canaanites cannot be agents. And the last one is the wife. And we said like 5 minutes ago that actually the wife is the one who actually had ownership of the Mavoy, and she could do it. So why is it that like this is happening? So this is like different ways of looking at it. Again, Ela Amar Rav Ashi, matnitin besheyesh la chatzer be'oto mavoy haskinan. So the first Mishnah that we talked about, right? We're talking about a woman who actually owns her own chatzer and her own mavoy, and so she needs to actually manage to get like ownership of the wine so that she can make the shiftei mavoy herself. And then she's going, we saw before, as I said, that she managed to get it as a present from her own husband. Demigo de zachia lenafsha, zachia leacharine. But it's like, so whatever it is that she buys for herself, it actually, she can transfer that acquisition to all the other people who are living in the Mavoy. And we are going to stop here for today.
Yasher Koch, Miriam.
Thank you.
That wasn't too bad.
Yasher Koyach, thank you and good night.
Thank you. So that I don't know if there was anything that was arranged for tomorrow. I cannot do it tomorrow. I didn't see anything in the WhatsApp group. I can put a word, I can see if Rabbi Schwartz can do it, but I know Ellie is away, so that's not happening.
All right.
Okay, so watch for whatever messages.
I didn't realize it starts immediately after Shabbos is over.
So we said 45 minutes after Havdalah. So that's more or less, what it was. Shabbos ended at like 5:44. So yeah. So I did 6:30, which was 45 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. So more or less that's what we do.
Right.
Until the days become longer and we meet in person in shul, which is what we do.
Right. See, I'm in Lakewood, New Jersey.
Oh, so you would not be meeting us in shul.
But they first stop in Myrav after 6 p.m. here.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Wow.
That's a Zmanim problem. Issue, right. Okay. Yeah. Well, it still gives you probably enough time to get home, right?
Barely. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, that's
yeah,
really
we know by the
tight.
Vilna Gaon here, and not by the
Yeah.
Shulchan Aruch.
So how did you decide to join this Daf Yomi Shir since you're in Lakewood? I'm sure there's a lot of availability over there.
Right. Well, besides the daf, I do other shirim with the bayit throughout the week. With Rav Avi,
Oh.
Rav Stephen,
Oh,
Rav
that's
Ezra,
great.
Rav Bracha.
Oh,
So I figured if we're going to start with the daf, keep everything under one roof.
Amazing. That's really
Oh.
great.
great to
So
have
you do so you do it during the week as well?
Yes.
Yes, he comes
Okay.
often during the week.
Very nice. Very nice. I do Daf Yomi in a different shul during the week, so it's
A Jewish school in the same neighborhood in Riverdale.
in the same neighborhood, but it's earlier, which works better with my work schedule. So
Shavua tov, everybody.
Shavua
Good
tov.
job. Hopefully someone will jump
Shavua
in.
tov. Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.